So, you want to take your big girl camera out on a kayak, do you? Well, there's a few things you should know before you head out on the water. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything I've learned over the last 8 years of trying and failing to take photos from a small boat. I'm going to talk kayak recommendations, gear, and more. So let's go. Lesson number 1. Kayakers and photographers can't really go kayaking together. If it's a friend, cool, but I'm talking about kayak club outings. I tried that in the beginning, going out with a big group, but these folks have a different purpose. They have a destination or a distance that they want to cover, and they will not wait for me to stop and take pictures. You guys have got different goals. So find a friend who also wants to go out and take their time and take photos and head out on the water that way. Lesson number 2 that I learned: not all kayaks are actually good for photography. I sampled a dozen types and sizes of kayaks. I worked with sea kayaks, sit-on tops, inflatables. I even tried paddle boards, and they all led me to the same conclusion. I'm a photographer first and a kayaker second. My priorities are a little bit different. And I found out that I don't like using a traditional kayak for my photo outings. I want my hands to be free, which is kind of anti-kayak. But I still want to be on the water. So what can I do? I basically needed to find another type of propulsion other than using my hands the entire time. So I ended up at Hobie. I got a 16-foot Hobie Mirage Revolution, and I'll get into this specific kayak here in a bit. They actually don't even make that one anymore. I've got something else now. But this particular lesson is that the type of kayak really does matter. So there's some things that you're going to want to consider when you are looking for a kayak to use for your photography. Deck space is one of them. So photographers have gear, sometimes lots of gear. So consider how you're going to carry that gear and where you're going to store it. These are things to think about. Now, I carry my gear behind me, and I've done it in the past with a dry bag, and it has been a little bit frustrating because that thing is tucked underneath a whole bunch of bungees, and in order to get my gear out, I have to be completely stable, completely stopped, and just get up out of my chair in order to get my gear out, which is kind of frustrating. So now I've got a new thing. I've got a water-resistant or a waterproof duffel bag that opens from the top. And this one I can anchor down on the sides and not put the bungees completely over it, and it allows super easy access. It is so much better. Stability is another thing that you're going to want to consider. Do you want to stand up in this kayak? So if you want to do this and not tip over, a sea kayak is not going to do it for you. Sit-on tops are going to be much more stable, but they are slower. So there's always caveats to this type of thing. And this is, again, another reason why I don't go out with kayaking groups, because they are fast. And I don't want to go fast because I just want to take pictures. You have to think about the type of water that you're going to be on. Are you going to be on a nice calm lake? Are you going to be on rivers? Are you going to be on the ocean dealing with waves? You're going to be having to fight the tide, possibly? Color is another consideration. It is safer for you to be more visible on the water. Now, my current one is blue, so I put reflectors, a flashlight, flags on it so that people will see me from a distance. Now, I bought it used, and I got a really good deal, so cut me some slack there. I would rather have a bright yellow or a bright red one that is very visible on the water. So if I'm going to recommend one type of kayak, the perfect kayak that I feel is ideal for photographers, it's going to be the foot pedal powered fishing kayak. Now, fishing kayaks are made to carry gear, and they're made to keep your hands free so that obviously you can go fishing, right? But instead of fishing gear, you're going to set this thing up with your photo gear. Fishing kayaks they allow you to install holders for small cameras like a GoPro or a DJI action camera. They've got all sorts of places to store gear. There are a lot of different companies nowadays that make these types of kayaks. So here's just a few of them that you might want to do some research on. Brooklyn Kayak Company, they've got some awesome looking ones. Old Town Kayaks, the Old Town Sportsman in particular, is made for fishing. Reel Yaks, R-E-E-L. Three Waters Kayaks, Eco Fishing Shop. Now, these things are not cheap. You will notice when you look online that they are not $300 kayaks that you can get down at Dick's Sporting Goods. These are very expensive, but they really are going to be very helpful to you in the field. They're going to make life easier for you, and they're going to make it safer for you, and in particular, safer for your gear. Much less likely to dump your gear over the side by tipping over in these types of kayaks. They are extremely steady. You can stand up in them. I can stand up in mine. So what I typically do is I use my paddle to get away from the shallow water or away from the dock, and then I plop the fins in the middle and I just start paddling. So I've got my left hand on the rudder control to steer, and then my right hand has a camera in it. So I either have like a GoPro, I used to have a GoPro, but now I've got a DJI action camera, or a point and shoot, like a waterproof point and shoot. So get one of those waterproof sport cameras that you can bring to the beach and just have that in your hand and have it at the ready, because you never know what's going to happen. I've had dolphins just swim right up to me. Now, never approach a dolphin in the wild. Don't chase them down or anything like that. But if they happen to be swimming nearby, I want to be ready for that. And I don't want to have to stop and reach into the back and grab all my gear in order to capture the, fleeting precious moments like that. I want to have that camera just out, ready to roll. Now, because of all this motion that you are dealing with on the water and you are trying to take pictures, I highly recommend getting an appropriately sized anchor. So here's just a general list of what you want to have with you just for safety and comfort reasons. So you're going to want the typical stuff: water, food or snacks, sunscreen, hat, sunglasses, appropriate clothing and shoes. So around here, I have to worry about oysters, actually. So if I were to be in a shallow area and I wanted to get out, step out of my kayak and take some photos just standing up, or just stretch my legs because I'm uncomfortable, I want to make sure that my feet are covered, because I have oysters in the area and they can cut up your feet really, really bad. And that is an ugly situation. So protect those feet. So I'm going to get either a dry bag or some sort of waterproof duffel bag to store my gear, an anchor, cell phone. So I've got an actual Pelican float holder for my phone. I wear it around my neck, so I have my phone with me all the time. I'm going to want a float for my keys. Don't get me started on the fact that I lost my keys, my car key, one time because I didn't have a float on the thing. So we just won't talk about that anymore. I also have a small floating Pelican case that is for my smaller items. I carry an emergency whistle and lights, or a flashlight, or some sort of beacon that you can kind of show people and ask for help if you need it. Obviously, this goes without saying, but maybe I have to say it. You're going to want a good PFD, all right? And you're also going to want to do some research on a good kayak rack, because to be honest, carrying this thing is really heavy and it's hard to get up on top of my my SUV. So do some research on a good kayak rack, something that has maybe a load assist associated with it, and definitely download some navigation apps, or at least just one good one that you can trust, so you don't get lost on the water. As far as photo gear is concerned, I'm going to bring my DSLR, my mirrorless camera, and I'm going to bring either a wide or a telephoto, depending on what my subject is. So now I typically will go out primarily just to photograph birds. I like to go to the islands that are only accessible by water. I don't step on the island. You never disrupt the wildlife. You keep a safe distance, so that especially if they have, during the nesting season, they've got babies or anything like that, you definitely want to keep your distance and make sure that you're not doing any harm while you're out there. So I have a really long lens for these situations. So I'm actually bringing my Sony 200 to 600 with me. Shocking. I know people think I'm crazy, but I only pull that thing out of the bag, again, when I'm in 2 feet of water. I can stand up. I mean, it's really not that big a deal. And anytime that I move from point A to point B, I put that thing back in the bag, zip it up, just so that it doesn't get splashed, just in case a rogue wave comes along from some boater nearby. I want to make sure that all of that is protected. I do make sure that if I am shooting with that 200 to 600 that I keep that camera strap around my neck at all times. I don't want to accidentally drop it. I mean, sometimes my hands are wet, so it can happen. If you're going to be out in really heavy waves or anything, you're going to be offshore, you might even want to consider a waterproof housing for that big expensive gear. It's it's an added expense. I don't have one myself. I have not had the need for it, but depending on what type of photography on the water that you're going to do, you may want to consider that. So the question about tripods, only if you have room for it and you really feel the need for it. If you plan on recording video with your good camera gear, then they're extremely helpful. You could record some video on your phone while you're out there and just bring a little tripod for your phone and set it on the side of the kayak in one of the track rails or something, and you can actually kind of anchor it there so that it won't fall off. You can do the same thing with, GoPros and DJI cameras as well. They've got things that will attach to your boats to keep them from falling in the water. I haven't brought my tripod out with me, but I'm considering maybe a monopod, because the last time I was out for about 4 hours and my arms just got extremely tired, and it just would have been nice to have something to kind of settle some of the weight of the lens on if I'm going to be out there for quite so long. And as with any other photo outing, extra memory cards and batteries are always what you want to have with you. Just remember, your safety is the most important thing, and I think fun comes a very close second. So definitely go out, have fun, be safe, bring a friend. Don't go out alone. It is not recommended to be out on the water alone. And if you need some bird photography tips that you can use while you're on that kayak, go ahead and check out this video right here. I'll see you guys next time.